School. I'm here with Adam, and I want to get started just by learning about your background and how you got started in music in the first place.
Sure. So background wise, originally from Long Island, New York. Went to Maryland, University of Maryland for college. And production wise, I started back in 2016 as senior year of high school. We had to do like a senior year project or a senior year experience of something that you're interested in. So it was either you go in and you go into an industry internship that you're definitely interested in, or you can do some sort of project. At the time, I was in band since I don't know, elementary school, and one of my good friends was a producer, and he was always showing me things he was working on or stuff that he was remixing, and inspired me to then do my senior project with my band teacher. And I made a remix. My first ever remix was for my first official remix was for Roses, which is actually the singer on Roses by the Chainsmokers. So that was my first remix. That was official. Before that, I did a bunch of different like bootleg remixes that I threw up on SoundCloud, but are no longer there. um, and yeah, from 2016 and even to this day, is I've been producing. And the DJ world was actually picked up in Maryland. It was first. What was it like? It was freshman year, and you had to take like also UNIV 100, which is like that entry level. Like every freshman has to take it. And the professor was like, "All right, today you gotta go to the fair on McKeldin Mall and just show up and maybe put your name down for one or two clubs." And I dreaded that. I was like, "Oh, I really don't want to go to this." So I was talking to my friend at the time, and I was like, "All right," like we're walking towards there, and I said, "If there's one club that I'd be interested in, it would be something music related, like a production class, because I was doing it every single day, and even like not going out because I was producing in my dorm room. So if it's music related or something with DJing, because I should have prefaced with this that the night before I was talking to my mom saying I really wanted to get into DJing, and she was like, "How much does it cost?" Because music always was really expensive with all the plugins or the software. I was like, I don't know, like $1,000 because like I looked at like the cheapest controller or whatever, one of the cheaper controllers, and she said stick to production. And then fast forward next day, I go to the fair, and the very first person that approached me was shout out Cody Wright. He was the guy. I was like, "Yo, are you interested in learning to produce or DJ?" And no, I kid you not, dude. I kid you not. I think Cody probably remembers the same day also, and I was like, "Let's do it!" Like I'm so down, and I signed up. It was called Terrapin Beats Club.
Yes,
I don't know if you heard of it.
of course.
So
Yeah.
it was dude, there was like all the DJ meetings. I think it was like Thursday nights or whatever night that everyone was going out as a freshman, like to Bents or to Turf or to one of like the nearby bars or varsity parties. I was going to South Campus Dining Hall right above to DJ for I don't know 3 hours, 2 hours, and yeah, then from there on, I mean, I fell in love with the DJing side also, and literally went every single day possible. I remember they had like office hours after my Friday philosophy class. I was going over there to DJ. And yeah, then I just kept on with it. I met a person through my fraternity, Zach, who then managed me at the time, and he got a job at Club Glow and whatnot as like promotion and miscellaneous things over there, which then gave me the opportunity to like start gigging at Echo Stage and Soundcheck. And from there on, it was kind of yeah, it was all good, and I just kept doing it.
Yeah, man. How did you get that first show at a Club Glow or Soundcheck or Echo Stage or wherever?
So yeah. So the first show actually I remember was for opening Justin Caruso for Fuck Cancer Night um, at at Soundcheck, and I got that one was so Zach, like I was saying, my manager was working with Club Glow at the time, and the booking agent or the person that would book all the talent for Soundcheck and Echo was like yeah, have your guy send in a mix or something like that, like see if you could like actually DJ. So I remember I was sophomore at the time, and I was um, practicing like on my own controller that I ended up buying, and then I just recorded a set and I sent it over to Zach, who then sent it over to her, and she was like, "Damn, like he can mix," or like I forgot what she said exactly, but she was impressed, which was cool. Um, and yeah, I got. She was like, "Sure, like let's book him for the over like 10 to 11 slot right before Justin," and then um, and yeah, that was how I got that first one.
That is tight, man. Was it paid or was just for experience or?
But I can't remember if that first show was paid. Um, I want to say I think it was because I actually did always end up getting paid from these shows, which is like the funny part. Because I was like in the beginning, I was playing like the door opening slot or like the. I mean, yeah, that was mostly the slots I played in the beginning. Was like, doors open at 9. Like, there's maybe 3 people in the crowd, and that was my slot. Um, but yeah, I think I mean, always when I got paid, it was like $200, which was awesome because as like a broke college student, any income was like, all right, this works.
Yeah, man. And then for people listening that don't know, Echo Stage or Club Glow owns pretty much every EDM venue in the DC area. So you
Mhm.
got like this huge connection, and I'm assuming you got a lot more shows after that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. So I played that first Caruso show um, at Soundcheck, and then I actually think that the second show she booked me for was for Dada Life at Echo Stage.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, Echo Stage is, I mean, voted top clubs in the world. I mean, in the States, I think it's like top five or something like something insane. And for someone that had like zero to no experience of actually playing any shows or, actually playing on a CDJ for that long or, you know, reading a room of, however many people and like knowing what songs to play, it was like so frightening because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have that experience of like playing shows. I mean, I learned it as I went, but damn, bro, like I shit my pants half of the time before a set.
Yeah. What was that like, man? Pretty much going to like zero to nothing that you're performing in front of all these people.
It was like it was so like quick where I had to just learn it as I was going. I remember like in the beginning when I was playing sets, like I would watch these YouTube videos of like Laid Back Luke or I don't know, like Carl Cox or like some DJ that I was inspired by. A lot of Laid Back Luke, honestly, because
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, I mean he's such an authentic DJ today, where he's like not grabbing the mic saying 3, 2, 1, jump every second, or
Yeah.
he's mixing on the fly and not having a pre decided set. So in the beginning, I was more confined to that have these songs and you're going to play it in this order. And it really like bit me in the ass because those times where those people weren't liking the 30 songs I chose for that 1 hour set kind of made me like realize like, oh crap, like I can't do that because then it's going to suck. So then I remember at one point I downloaded like 1,000 songs, which
Mm-hmm.
took me, I don't know how long it freaking took me, but then I started DJing more of the fact like a laid back Luke style. Like I never had a set list to this day. I mean, I haven't DJed in a while, but from my last show, I never had a set list. It's kind of just like here's my USB of 1,000 songs and just go. So
That's
it was kind of
crazy.
just like learning every single step of the way of like what kind of worked, what doesn't work, like what what definitely not to do, what to do,
Yeah.
and yeah, just like a learning experience, just like anything else.
Yeah, man, that's so exciting. And you pretty much would just read the room, get instant feedback on what you're playing, and then go from there.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, it was like looking back on it. I mean, yeah, I never really had many. I had like folders, so I guess you can call that like some sort of like pre-decided set list, but I never actually played it in that order that I had the songs in the folder. I'd have like I remember when I played Firefly down in Delaware. That was like my first headlining um, headlining festival, which is like crazy. Um, and I remember I just had like a folder of 100 songs. My set was like I think 45 minutes or something like that, or an hour, and I kind of just grabbed them as I went. I was like, all right, like let's try playing this remix after this mashup, or see if this works. Some of them didn't work, and it was yeah,
That's fun, man, and it's so different than how a lot of DJs do it. Like you said, a lot of them really just pretty much have a pre-recorded set already, and
yeah.
yeah, you,
Which
I'm
I mean,
sure.
listen, no, I was gonna say like there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, people like some performers, have that pre-decided set list because it's like already they're playing new IDs or they're playing some new mashups that they put together and like they know the flow of it and like they're huge artists like Martin Garrix like he's playing a predefined set list. That's so fine because he's Martin Garrix and you can do it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just like different styles of it.
Definitely. And then you can sync it up with his visuals and everything. There's benefits to both sides.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. When you're a touring artist like Garrix again, I played one show with him actually. I played one opening set. That was my senior year of high school. I remember, and senior of high school, senior year of college, and I remember going on stage and there was like the big Garrix Plus or X, whatever his logo is, right behind me. And then actually when I got off stage, that was like one of my favorite sets I ever played. He actually came up to me and like he dapped me up and said like, "Awesome job, dude." And because it was so dark backstage, like, and he was wearing a hoodie, I didn't realize it was him for a second. And I had like an adrenaline rush from when I was playing because like I don't have the set list, so I'm just going as I play, and people were really really digging it. So I was like, "Oh, like thank you so much, like I really appreciate it." And he pulled back his hood a little bit. I was like, "Holy shit! Like you're Martin Garrix, like what's up, dude?" And it was a really cool experience. I mean, he's such a genuine guy, and for
Yes.
one of the top producers slash DJs in the world to say that to you, I was like, "Geez."
Yeah, what the heck? That's so cool, man. I want to talk about your production as well. You said you
Uh-huh.
started learning production senior year of high school, right? For that senior
Yeah,
project?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then I'm
Actually,
assuming, oh, go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. Yeah, what were you saying?
I'm assuming at first you weren't very good, right? It took you some time to figure it out.
Dude, oh my god, the first songs. I wish I had my other computer with me. I actually have my work laptop right now, but my music laptop with like all my demos or all my remixes. I like I don't know where it like once came up recently. Like I heard one of my old remixes and I was like, holy shit, like that is terrible. Like but it tells like a story. I mean, when I first started, I was like so into Kygo and I mean Matoma and all these like different like tropical house producers because like tropical house at the time was like really growing and I was so inspired by it. So a lot of my remixes in the beginning days were like all these tropical house infused um, mixes, and I was like, when I listened to it today, I was like, what the hell was I doing? Honestly, half of the time, what I did when I started, I remember I did a one of my first remixes I did was for a song called "Smoke Filled Room" by Mako or Mako, however you pronounce it, and I remember like I did a tropical house remix to it, and what I did was I added some tambourines, some like shakers, and like some like marimba sounds. And then for the drop, which is always like the biggest thing in EDM music, the drop was the actual drop of the song slowed down with like some percussion elements in it. And I classified that as my remix. And people really liked it. And I was like, damn, you like this? At the time it was awesome. And I was looking back and I was like, maybe they're just being nice to me.
You never know. I think that's also something that a lot of producers overthink about is like the production quality of a song. When really you could put out something that doesn't sound good or professional to you, and people really will resonate with it still.
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, a lot of the early day remixes were, I mean, I had music background my entire life. I was played piano since I was I don't know, maybe 6 or 7, and my dad was a drummer, and my sister is an amazing vocalist. She is awesome. She's awesome, and I was always like surrounded by like music in my life, and for the production element of things, it was like unlocking a whole new side of like my music ability because I always was. I'm not trying to sound like self-centered. I was always talented at piano, and like I was in jazz band. I was in percussion in throughout elementary school to high school. So I graduated, and it was always like something that came like kind of easy. Some people have sports come really easy to them. Music always came very easy to me. So when I got into production, the biggest hurdle for me was really like learning how to get everything from my head into a computer software. So that was like a huge learning curve because I had the ability to be like, all right, I want to play like these chords on the piano. I know these are going to work. They're going to sound good. But now, how do I get it to sound like I want it to sound? Because I want it to just be like a piano. So then I got into the synths and Silent and Serum and Massive and every single toy that I wanted to buy. But I bought one. Like then you just learn it as you go. And YouTube was like my savior. I spent legit hours on YouTube.
Yeah, you can
Wait,
learn so
dude, can
much
I?
just from YouTube. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, we
I,
can pause.
I have a phone call I actually have to pick up. Can I go on mute for?
Cool. Yeah, and we were talking about your production, and you said at first it wasn't the best. How did you get from like down here up to here? We are releasing this professional sounding music.
Like how long it took me, or like how
How long
how
did
have
it
how
take
have
you,
I been doing it?
and how did you do it?
So it honestly, it's still even a work in progress. To be honest with you, man. Like the earlier sounding stuff, obviously, were far different than what I have today. Um, but it was kind of just evolution of new sounds or new songs that I've like really vibing with, or anything that I drew inspiration from. So throughout the years, I like kind of shifted away from that tropical house sound that I started with when I was a senior in high school to then kind of going into like my new stuff of like indie. I mean, I always wanted to sing like my entire life. I always wanted to be in a band. I always wanted to be like the lead singer. Um, and I was able to sing, not well, or not to this point where I would want to put it out. So when it was COVID, Zach, who was my manager at the time, said, dude, I have this friend from high school that's like a vocalist and she's doing lessons. Um, you should try to take a couple. Like you're sitting at home, like what else do you have to do? So I was like, all right. I then had this like cool agreement with her. It was like she wanted to learn how to produce. So like I would teach her everything I knew. For in return, she would teach me how to sing. And it was like first 30 minutes was me singing, and then half the second half of 30 minutes was me teaching her how to produce. And honestly, it was just over time you pick up different techniques and you learn different things, different sounds, like what this one knob does on a synthesizer, or, what this one plugin does to change the sound of a guitar coming in. It's just picking it up over the years, and a lot of YouTube, basically all YouTube.
Yes. Yeah, man. When did you get to the point where you were actually like releasing music? It sounds like that was pretty early on, right? You started releasing stuff.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when I was releasing pretty much everything I made. When I was in high school,
Mm-hmm.
that Roses remix was my first official release, which is still on my Spotify. So if you want your ears to bleed after we hang up, or anyone that's gonna listen to this, go listen to the song and you'll hear how terrible it is. Um, but it's kind of yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just like over the time, it changes, and it's more practice. Like anything, you get better with practice. That's the one thing for production. I mean, with overtime and practice, you will definitely get better.
Definitely, man. How did you get that official remix in the first place with Roses?
I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Let me do something real quick. I'm sorry, Adam.
Oh, so the official remix.
I'm just gonna move my router real quick. Here, is this better at
This may
all?
be my. Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay, cool. Yeah, how did you land that official remix with Roses? Did you just reach out to them?
Yeah, so I literally what I did when I started was I would go through SoundCloud and go through like people's like songs. And I remember I would like my criteria would be like, okay, does this song start in the range of like 100 to 110 BPM or something like that? Is it like a major key, like this and that? And I would like decide down to a couple songs which one I would want to like research and see if I could find some sort of management contact. And I sent out a bunch of emails. And I remember the Roses email I sent to his name was Paul Mensel, and I'm pretty sure that's her brother or her somewhere one of her family members that also manages her. So I emailed him. I was like, "Hey, Paul, my name is Adam Kahati from Long Island. I literally remember the email to this day. I was like, I have so many ideas in my head that I would love to implement in this track. Like, I would totally love to remix it for you guys, and see where it goes." And then I didn't hear back for like a couple of days, and then I heard back, and he was like, "Here, like, sure thing, Adam. Like, here are the stems." And I was like, that was actually the first person I got like official stems from, because all the other times was I would just find a studio acapella on YouTube. Like I was saying, that smoke filled room remix. I just like ripped it off YouTube, the acapella, and he was the first person that was like, "Yeah, Adam, like here are the pack. Like here's the pack of all the stems of the song, her vocals, like her synths, her layers." And I was like, "Whoa, like this is like her song, and like I have it." so so yeah, I remember I had it, and I spent hours on it, literally like hours on it. Or I was like locked in my room. My mom was like, "You haven't left your bedroom for hours." Um, and yeah, I made it. I sent it over to them. And then I remember I was actually going to my senior year graduation, and I got an email from him saying, "This is awesome. Like, can we make this official?" And dude, I kid you not, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is like, I started making music like a couple months ago, and I'm getting my first official release on Spotify.
Dude, I
Yeah.
feel like you really like just jumped in, and from the
Yeah.
start you were doing stuff, big things.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that was, that was lucky as hell that I just came across that person, that song, and I was like, all right, let me try it. And I did have like my fair share of remixes beforehand that I made, and I just threw up on SoundCloud, and went nowhere. And honestly, I think other than that one, I think I maybe had like two more official releases in my lifetime. One of them being for a Lost Kings song, um, which had like a whole story too, which is really cool. And then the other one was for another artist. I think his name was like Bikla or something like that. I remember I made the remix because Zach like had a contact or someone that reached out to him saying if I'd be interested in doing it. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I did it, gave it over to them. And there's like so much like not red tape, but there's just like so many people involved in these things that once you send over the remix to whoever it's going to, it's kind of like a lot of waiting. And I waited, I think, over a year. And then like we got an email saying like it's coming out. And it's out. It's on my Spotify, I think, and it's like fine. I think over the time I was like, I don't like any of these songs.
Yeah, dude. Waiting a whole year for a song to be released. I feel like after a year, your style changes and you grow as an artist, and it's just like, do I even want this to come out anymore?
Yeah. I mean, that's right on. I mean, I remember I released it, or I mean, I produced it at the time, and I was like, this is a cool sounding remix. Um, and then when it came out, like you said, my style, I guess, changed a little bit, or like my ideas changed, and like that style was kind of out of the door for me. I was like, I don't like the sound. Like I mixed it terribly. Like this kick can be replaced,
Yeah, man.
but that's
I
how
want
it
to hear
is.
this Lost King story though.
Oh yeah. So when I was a sophomore in college, I remember how did this? I'm trying to remember the story of how it came about with the how I found the song. But maybe Zach sent it to me or I found it. And a lot of the time, how Zach and I worked was like I would either send a song to Zach and I'd be like, dude, this song's awesome. Can you get the stems for me? Because now at this point, I was like all fancy and whatnot. I had, a quote unquote manager, which was awesome. I mean, Zach's the best. So he would reach out to these people, to their management, and it would come off a little bit more professional. It'd be like, oh, I manage this artist, Adam Kahati. They didn't have to know that we were like best friends and we went to school together. Um, and he would work some magic and he would literally get these stems. So whatever, we hit up Lost Kings. And Zach reached out and we got the stems. And I remember I made the remix. And dude, to this day, that's my favorite thing I've made for remix wise. Like it was so like advanced for me at the time. I remember that I was like, this is like a cool sounding remix that's like it hits when it drops. It has like good chordal elements, like all these different things. I just really liked it. So I sent it to Zach. Sorry. And Zach was like, dude, this is fucking sick. I remember it. And he was like, dude, this is the song that you'll hear at like a festival or something like that. And I was like, listen, if you see that, like, I hope it's true. And I really hope it's going to be an official release because I thought that was a great display of my work. And even to this day, like, I think it's an awesome display. And that I rarely say that, my older stuff. Whatever. We sent it over to Lost Kings. And I remember we got the email saying, sorry, we filled the pack already for the official releases. Like, we'll give you this as like a SoundCloud release and they won't get taken down. I was like so devastated. I was like literally so pissed because Zach was gassing it up. I was gassing it up. And I was like, this is awesome. This is a great remix. Whatever. Didn't go official. A couple other songs on the pack went official. I like them all. Like it was still a good pack. And then I remember I was actually in South Campus Dining Hall and I was eating lunch and I got a DM tag or something came up in my DMs or I got tagged saying Adam Kahati music. I was like, oh, like what is this? So I clicked on it and it was Lost Kings playing my remix at, you guessed it, a fucking festival.
Dude.
And I literally remember, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because like this was like the first time like something like that happened to me. And Zach, I hit up Zach. I was like, dude, look at this. Like, look at this video. And I kid you not, it was like the drop pyro going all like the fire, like the whole thing. He literally called it. And I was like, damn. Like, and it didn't even go official. So whatever. I think I DM'd them and I said, guys, like, thank you so much for playing it. Like, I'm so happy you guys like it. And then they responded back and Nick and Rob, who were the Lost Kings guys, they're awesome. And they're like, dude, we love this remix. Like we play it all the time. And I was like, what? I was like, I made this in my childhood bedroom in New York. I actually, fun fact, I didn't even have like two speakers, like two studio monitors at the time. I only bought one because I was like, I don't need two. So I only bought one of them and I was making a song basically like mono, I guess. So if I panned anything, I wouldn't hear the other side, but whatever. So that's besides the point. I remember I was like, holy crap, like they're playing this song and it was made in my bedroom. Then, I think that was like 2 weeks before this festival in Maryland called, what was it called? What was it called?
Moonrise?
No, it wasn't Moonrise. It was something else that it was like a smaller festival and they're actually one of the artists playing. And I didn't get, there was like a DJ contest to be one of the openers. I didn't win it, but I still went. And I DM'd them saying like, I'll be at the festival. Would love to meet you guys. And they were super receptive to it. Like, dude, please, like, we'd love to meet you. Fast forward those 2 weeks, get over to the festival and right on, I met them. So I like go towards like the backstage area and like met them. I'm like, hey, what's up guys? Like, my name's Adam Kahati. And like, dude, like, oh my God, like we like love your remix. Like, thank you so much for making it. Like all this stuff. And I was like, this is awesome. Like, I can't believe this is happening. And then they said, dude, we feel so bad that this one wasn't official because we really want it to be official. Take Drunk as Hell, which was like their latest single at the time, and and um and please, whatever you do with it, just do the same thing you did, do the same magic, and we're releasing it official no matter what, whether we like it or we hate it. So I got the stems to the song, rightfully so, like maybe like 2 days later, and made the remix, and it's official to this day. I mean, it's called Drunk as Hell, and I mean, I like it. I still like the other one better, but it's kind of like the guy's way to say like, thank you for, thank you for doing a great job on the other one. Here's this one, and
That's so tight, man.
and yeah, to this day they still play the song. I still get tagged in posts when they play it at. I mean, they played it at like closing out at Ultra. They played it at like I don't think they played Tomorrowland. Maybe they did, but everywhere they're playing when we were young, my song is literally part of it. Like they it's half and half. And to finish the story, at that festival they brought me on stage to like jump around with them, and they played it. But that's on YouTube or something. I remember. So yeah,
Dude,
that's the Lost King story.
that's such a good story. That's so much fun.
Oh yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was just like all these things. Like looking back on it, you know, from me just starting to produce in my bedroom in senior high school to like them doing that, and then playing abroad in Florence when I studied abroad, and then playing in Barcelona, and then playing in Firefly in Delaware, and doing all the things that I've done. And I was like, damn, who would have thought?
Yeah, and so young too, man. So young.
Yeah, I just turned 25 in August. Um, and now, I mean, like the new phase of music is kind of like it's taken so long, and life gets in the way, and you graduate from college and you get a real job, and then you work and you got to make money, and you know you get all these different things in your life that then the course of like your day to day is so different.
Yeah, man. I'm sure it's a lot harder to find time for music now that you have like a career outside of music, right?
Yeah. I mean, when I graduated, you and I, we both graduated at you're 2020, right?
2020. Yeah.
Yeah. So we graduated, got into COVID, and that time I had all the time in the world to make music, and it was like we didn't do anything else. So the only thing I was doing was sitting in my room playing or just producing music. But as good as that sounds, the problem was I wasn't experiencing anything in like life. Like it was just every single day I was just sitting in lockdown. So music was honestly becoming a chore. I was not enjoying it. I was like, this isn't fun. Can't leave my house. Like I'm done. Like I want to produce. So I would stop for a little bit, and then I'd be like, oh, something's missing. Like I need to be producing because throughout high school, I mean, throughout senior year of high school, throughout college, I go to school, come back, make music, go out, whatever it was, and repeat. So then I got a job in August of 2020, and I was commuting every single day into the city, even with COVID. It was like, no work from home. And I would get home and I was exhausted. And I was like, I don't really feel like producing. Like I'd go produce. I'd get tired of what I was making. I would be like, I give up. And then honestly, for a while, it was kind of just like that cyclical pattern of just, I start something. It's sounding cool, but I'm not loving it. And it was honestly just hard to juggle with until I like got into a groove again. Like I kind of got into a stride of making stuff I liked, um, and yeah, until then, I got out of like I always had funks of like this is getting boring, and then something would have to hit me for like something new.
Yeah, man. Yeah, how is there anything that you found that helps though with that? Because you are right. You get home from working, you're just exhausted, and then maybe like the last thing you want to do is then spend your time trying to make music.
Yeah.
Or is
It's
there
like
anything
what
that
would
helps?
help?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it was like stepping away from it for a while kind of made me realize I was like, oh damn, like I do love this stuff, and like you know whether it's for the future of being this world renowned DJ producer guy touring the world, or just like you know making music for the fun of it, which is essentially what I always do it for, is because I just like doing it. Um, you know, stepping away from it was always like the biggest cure, or the best way to kind of get back into it. Because then after like not having it in my life for so long, or like not having it in my life for like, sometimes I'd be like 2, 3 weeks, like sometimes a month or two. And then I'd be like, damn, like I'm itching to do something creative, or like get some ideas on, on a page and see what I make. And, then there it was. I mean, sometimes it would come out, and I remember that idea that came out was actually I'm All Right, which is one of my songs that I released back in September of last year. Um, it was a COVID time. I was like really not liking anything I was making. And then I took some time off, and I hit up this really talented artist, Maria Lynn. Um, and we Zoom sessioned, and we wrote the song. I had like this demo idea that I started one night, and I was like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then I linked with her on Zoom, and we wrote the song. And then it came out last year, and that was like a long process. Different drafts, different ideas, this and that. And then that one came out in September.
Yeah, man. So you are continuing to make music and put it out, even though you are also experiencing like this career and a lot of responsibilities that maybe take priority over music sometimes, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, just this past September also. Wow, I didn't realize that it was September. And September released. I released my first ever song that I'm singing on, called "Not
Ooh.
Enough for You,"
Mhm.
um, and that one came out in September. And that one was like that indie vibe that I've loved since
Mhm.
junior year of college, senior year of college, maybe. I always wanted to like change out the elements of, a synthesizer or something electronic, and something that wasn't authentic to me, and put in those like band sounding elements. Like I told you earlier, like I always wanted to be in a
Mhm.
band. So, the sound of a acoustic kick or an acoustic snare drum, and like,
Mhm.
a hi hat, an open hi hat, were elements I always wanted to include. And my earlier stuff, it wasn't really a fit, because I wasn't going to be making like a EDM 128 BPM song with like, I don't know, acoustic kick and snare. It just didn't sound right.
Mhm.
But now it's like all the songs start with guitar, and pretty much all the elements are almost all guitar and like bass and drums and my voice. Of course, I'll add in some like synth, like atmospheric pads and whatnot in there, but a
Mhm.
lot of the, root elements are all like acoustic instruments. And it's all the new stuff too. I mean, I have like a bunch of songs that are actually done now, with me singing. I produced it with a good friend of mine, and we made some like really cool stuff. And Not Enough for You was like the first one that we put out. I think I have like 3 or 4 more that are pretty much almost all wrapped up, and ready to come out.
That's exciting, man. And you're really just producing what excites you, like what you want to produce.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was like this new batch of music of, Not Enough for You being the first one, and um, all the new ones are all more indie, and like, just I don't know, just way more authentic to what I want to be making now. It's not really going to be like my old stuff. So, I'm All Right was kind of like that last, one where there's a bigger drop, and there's like a bigger EDM chorus idea. Now all the new stuff is like more, I don't know, diverted from that.
Yeah, man. That's exciting though. You grow and your music grows with you.
Yeah, I mean the lyrics are in my opinion not cheesy. I mean, I always wanted songs to, have like legitimate storytelling elements, or more uh, you know lyrical ideas that resonate with people. And not that my older stuff didn't, but it was kind of like it wasn't written through my eyes. It was kind of written with someone else, and like I would provide ideas for it, and we would kind of just like make this story. Now a lot of the new stuff that's written is like not necessarily like my exact day-to-day life, but it's kind of like, oh, I experienced one little thing that then I could amplify with, these ideas. But it's like still through my eyes, which is like cool. And now it's just like I don't know. I just like how the lyrics sound, and like they just sound more mature.
Yeah, it's more who you are, like now especially, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, man. Can you talk about your workflow? Like, how do you go about making music?
hmm So a lot of the time it will be, um, I'm like really like a guy who gets an idea from a song. Like for example, I've been bumping nonstop these days Holly Humberstone. She's like this British singer songwriter, and her lyrics, one, are amazing, and two, her voice is amazing, and her production. I don't think she produces it, but whoever she produces with and whoever she works with are so talented. And I usually sit down, I listen to a new album, whether it's her, whether it's another artist or whoever it is, and I'll be like, okay, that's like a vibe I really want to chase, or like that's something I really want to incorporate. So, just this past week when I was in the city, I was listening to Holly's new album, and she had a bunch of awesome records on there that were like super, super indie, and like not super indie, but like the vibe that I like. And I grabbed my guitar and then I sat at my desk and I made something that was like, in my opinion, freaking awesome. So like I usually a lot of time listen to songs, get some inspiration, and then from there, like I'm not gonna take the exact idea, but like I'll work off that and I'll be like, okay, like I'm gonna do something similar to that, and then kind of see where that takes me. And then for hours, I'll sit down and I'll just work on one chord progression until it sounds the right way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but like what you said earlier towards the start of the interview, that the bass line, like the chords and the song structure, like those little elements matter the most out of everything. You can't really make that sound better without that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's really at the root of it. Just like I remember, as everyone says, like less is more, and you know, from the earlier days, like we were talking about earlier, like the earlier days of production and like the more recent days of production, that ideology is like really stuck with me because in the past I would be running like 10 layers of synths for a drop in an EDM song because I thought
Yes.
that 10 synthesizers is going to beef this thing up. When in reality today, not enough for you. I think maybe have like 10 layers in total. And yeah, and it was just like night and day when we were making not enough for you, and I was like, dude, there's like nothing in this thing. It's just like my voice and like a couple elements, and like each of these elements have its own like specific sector that they're working on, and like their own thing that they're doing. But that's it. It's literally just less is more, and that was like a big thing, you know.
Yeah, man. And it still sounds big and full and professional, just with
hmm
less. Yeah.
That's it. It's just like I mean, a lot of YouTube tutorials will tell you the same thing, and it's really, really, really important that whatever that one layer is doing, that layer serves a purpose to the song. So, whether it's like a small little melody, or whether it's like a power chord, or whether it's like the bass line of that power chord you're playing, all of those things were like layered together, and you'll see a big difference.
Yeah, man. Rather than just adding stuff just to add it, it needs to have a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And I think actually like I think maybe I did like a thing on my Instagram, like on a reel or a TikTok, and I was like, look what happens like when I put these three elements together. And like the coolest part is that you could add something that's not even sounding good, but like you put it together and it sounds good somehow. Like half of the layers and not enough for you. Like they're like actually like if you soloed all the stems, like they don't sound good. Like a lot of them actually sound off. Like not even in. I don't think like I tuned the guitar when I did it, and somehow it works. I don't know how, but it works.
Awesome, man. You also work with other artists to create songs. What does that process look like collabing?
Um, it's. I mean, I love it. A lot of the earlier day stuff, it was, you know, working with singer songwriters because one, I didn't sing. Two, I didn't really like write well, and working with another person opens up a whole nother door of ideas. So a lot of times, for example, like I use Maria as an example, like she had so many like lyrical ideas in that song, or she had so many like like melodical ideas that that I couldn't do, and I was like, my brain is more functioning towards like the elements, so like the production and like the the sound of these songs and like how they go. But then she came in with like these lyrical ideas and these melodic ideas that kind of complemented it. So it's kind of like really special when you find that other person you work really well with, and you just throw all these ideas to the wall, and the best ones will stick, and it's cool. It's a fun experience.
Yeah, man. And I'm assuming you learn a lot from working with other people too, right?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I mean the recent guy I worked with, his name is Musa, and he's got his own production. He's got his own project, and right there and then I learned a ton of stuff for vocal production or even guitar production and all these different things. So the guy Justin that I've known for years now, he was actually like the sound engineer that cut my whole EP, my first one, mixed it all, mastered everything, and even to this day, like we still work on some stuff here and there. And I pick his brain all the time. I mean, whether it's production stuff or whether it's engineering stuff, um, I lean on those people for it's more knowledge. Honestly, like I don't know everything, not even close. And you'll just keep on learning if you just keep asking more questions to other people.
Definitely, man. And how did you meet these people in the first place?
So Justin, I actually met. The first song that I cut with him was "Fall Into Place" on my EP with Jess Spielman, and we cut that whole song in 2 hours because I was like, I remember. So we went to the brewery, which is a studio in Brooklyn, and I remember like they gave you a list of the engineers that work there, and I was like, I'm gonna go with this guy. Like I didn't know anything. I was just kind of like I didn't ask anyone. Like I was kind of like, all right, like this guy looks cool. Like I feel like he'll be good at this stuff. And it was luck, and I met up with him. We cut the whole song in 2 hours, and yeah. And then from that day, I mean, like I remember he like just really really liked my sound, and he really liked what I was making. We just kept talking, and yeah, we became very good friends. And then from there on, I mean, we cut a lot of stuff together. He helped me produce some stuff, like even I'm All Right. I remember we went to the studio and we did all together, um, and he's helped me produce, and yeah, just from that day.
Yeah, man. And the vocalists that you know, how did you meet them as well?
So a lot of the vocalists and songwriters was through Insta. Honestly, I would just like DM them. Like Maria, I DM'd on Instagram, and I was just like, "Yo, like, love your sound. Would love to work together." And I cannot tell you the amount of DMs I've sent like that to people to try to work with them. Um, and some of them answered, some of them didn't, some of them did, saying no thanks. I'm working on my own stuff, and it was really just like I don't know, it's just like that, just reaching out and just putting yourself out there.
Yes, man. And I think a lot of people maybe assume that it's not going to go anywhere, but you never know until you actually try.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what's the worst thing? They say no, or like they don't answer you. I mean, there's nothing wrong. Like you're not gonna know if you don't try it. So that was like the the idea I lived by for when I would send out a DM or when I would send out a demo pack and be like, all right, like who knows what's gonna happen? Maybe it's gonna be the next person for me to make a hit. I don't know.
Legit, man. And then that's exactly how you got the remix for Roses. That's how you met Lost Kings. That's
Hmm.
how I'm sure you got a lot of movement in your career and a lot of just positive experiences just from reaching out to people.
Dude, it's like it's literally how it started. Pretty much everything. It was just like a cold DM, cold email by either myself or by Zach, and it takes you places. I don't know.
Yeah. It's powerful. It's powerful.
Dude, I mean, Firefly, that festival I played, that festival I played was through Zach emailing the info at Firefly Music Festival.
Dude.
I swear to God, it was. I was in Florence at the time. I was abroad, and Zach, I
Mhm.
don't know, he like found the email for something. It was literally like an info email, And I remember he was like, "Should I try to email them?" And I was like, "Sure, like I don't care. Like it's probably not going to go anywhere, but like do
Yeah,
it." And he emails them, and then I remember he was like, "Dude, like I'm talking to someone at Firefly right now to book you."
that's so
And
cool.
I was like, "Holy crap!" Like okay. And then like I got the contract, whatever. Like we signed it, and I was an artist.
That's so cool, man. And the same thing with your manager. He really is just trying stuff. You don't know, but you just try stuff, and sometimes it works.
The way we started working together was literally, we were both in the same fraternity in college, and then he was majoring in music, like business or something like that, and I was majoring in architecture, but I was producing all the time. And he was like, "Dude, like send me your stuff, like I'll give you feedback, like what I think." And I was like, "Okay." Sent him over like everything I made, and he was like, "Would you want me to like work with you on this stuff? Like we could like try to do something?" And
Yes.
I was like, "Yeah, like I don't care." At that time, dude, I was literally sending out emails to all these blog writers. Like this was before TikTok. This was before, actually maybe TikTok was invented, but it wasn't a thing. Instagram Reels wasn't a thing. Like it was like 2017, 2016, and I was on Hype Machine, which was like an old blog thing where like all these artists would curate these playlists, and I would just email every single person I was able to find. I would creepily stalk them as much as possible to see like what they wrote or like who they are, to kind of make like a personal connection to them. And it was like the worst thing in the world because I would maybe get one response for every 500 emails I would send. And it took a long time. It took a really long time.
Yeah. Persistence, consistency.
Yeah, honestly, that's like the biggest thing. I mean, looking back on it, was a lot of consistency, and just continuously hitting people up. And the problem with me now is like the consistency really isn't there. Like I'll put a song out and then I'll wait a while because life gets in the way,
Life.
and then I'll put in another song, and it's not consistent. But to my first point, is like I'm doing it for fun and for the love of it. So
Yeah, man. What does the future look like for you and your music? I know you said you have some songs you're potentially going to release.
yeah, I mean, I have I have a bunch of songs that are pretty much all finished up with me singing on them, and they're kind of just nearing like the last stage of kind of the mix and master, and like the stuff I honestly really don't like doing, like the artwork and the the whole other side of the music, um, that I don't really care for. um, so it's in that stage, and then once I find the time to release it or like put in some time to market it and whatnot, the new songs will come out. And yeah, and just I'm gonna just continue like making and see what comes about, and until it stops being fun,
Yes.
I'm gonna keep on doing it.
Yeah, man. So TBD. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
figure next song will definitely come out either before January, like sometime December, or maybe early January if the next song comes out. Um, I just want to have a little bit of a backlog, honestly. So those times I do go quiet, I could just have them ready to go and just be like, all right, release next one, relax next one. So
Smart.
we'll
Yeah,
probably play it like
man.
that.
You do obviously have a lot of music out already. Where can people find that, and where can they find you?
Yeah. All music's really Spotify, Apple Music. That's
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. I mean, yeah, all like my remixes and all like my OG stuff will be on my SoundCloud. Nothing. I don't think my new songs actually hit SoundCloud. I don't remember honestly where it went through, when it distributed, where it went through. Um, but yeah, all the OG stuff you could hear on my SoundCloud, and you could like hear history of it if you go all the way down to the bottom, all the way down to the bottom.
Awesome. And then obviously Apple and Spotify, like you said. And then you have Instagram? Do you have a TikTok or anything?
Yeah, I got them all. I mean, I got TikTok, I got Instagram, I have Twitter, or X, whatever you call it, and
X, yeah.
and I try to be active on them on socials. I'm not a big social media type of guy, which is always not the criticism I got from Zach, but Zach is like, you gotta be more. You got to do more on these things. So I am a little quiet on them, but I do pop in every here and there.
And it's the same at for all of them.
Yeah,
Adam
it's all
Kahati
Adam
Music.
Kahati music. Or actually, my
Perfect.
TikTok may be I am Adam Kahati. I don't remember, but if you search up Adam Kahati, it'll come up.
Perfect, man. Well, thanks for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure anyone else listening has too.
Yeah, of
Thanks
course.
again. Nice to
I
meet you,
appreciate
Adam.
it. And if you ever have any questions about production, you mentioned earlier that you're into it. Always feel free to hit me up. And anyone else, DM me.
Yes.
You never know where it's going to take you.
Yeah, exactly. That's the main lesson, the main takeaway. Send
Yeah,
those
that's it.
cold DMs. Cool, man.